Well, we'll try to take you through how markets have been responding over the last couple of days. Of course, the focus continues to be on the geopolitical tensions between Ukraine and Russia and the global commentary around that as well. US indices fell sharply in trade on Tuesday as investors continued to keep an eye out on how the Russia-Ukraine situation was panning out, as well as oil prices. Well, oil prices have shot up quite dramatically over the last couple of days. Well, the Dow fell nearly 600 points, down almost 1.76% in trade on Tuesday. The S&P 500 as well as the Nasdaq were lower by over 1.5%. In fact, the S&P 500 down 1.55 and the Nasdaq down 1.59%. So sharply lower. Investors also had an eye out on what was happening with regard to the Fed chair testifying, which is going to happen on Wednesday. There is strong commentary around how inflation is playing out in the US economy, and that will of course be the highlight on Wednesday as to how trade pans out. Also, President Biden is giving his first State of the Union address, in which he's spoken about Russia as well as inflation being one of the key things that he wishes to control over the coming months. Moving quickly on to Europe, well, European markets closed lower as well. In fact, sharply lower. The DAX was down almost 4%. CAC 40 also down almost 4% in trade yesterday. The FTSE 100 was a more tempered 1.75% lower, and the Stock 600 was down around 2.4% in trade yesterday. So quite beaten day for European markets as well. However, the one bright spot in global markets was Asia. Asia broadly closed in the green, marginal green, but in the green nonetheless. So definitely positive cues for Asia yesterday. However, when we look at how Asian markets have opened today, well, it's a sea of red. In fact, the ASX 200, which is holding on to some semblance of a gain, 0.1% in the positive, is also now turned negative. The Nikkei is down almost 1.9% as we speak. The Shanghai is down around 0.33%. The Hang Seng down over 1%, while the Kospi and the ASX 200 are down around 0.1% in early trade today. When we look at how Asia has opened up, or rather how US futures are faring at the moment, well, they were well in the or marginally in the green in early trade today. Currently a more tempered green as we see it. The Dow futures are up around 0.1%, but the S&P 500 and the Nasdaq futures are absolutely flat in trade as we speak. So really a downward trajectory in terms of the way things are going at the moment. The SGX Nifty 2 is down around 1.2% in early trade today. So clearly signaling negative cues for Indian markets. But the focus will be on commodities. Oil is up. Oil is now closing in on a $110 a barrel mark. It's risen up very quickly, breaching the $100 barrel mark yesterday before breaching the $105 a barrel mark. So now very quickly moving towards the $110 a barrel, of course, largely driven by how the Russian assault on Ukraine is panning out and how shortages will accumulate over the next few weeks. Gold is holding well and smartly above the $1,900 an ounce mark, clearly showing itself as the hedge in times of need. So gold is currently at around $1,942 an ounce as we speak. In terms of currency, well, the ruble has really tumbled. It's down almost 30%, and Russia, the Russian central bank rather, has increased its rates from 9.5% to 20% in order to stem that slide of the ruble. The dollar index though continues to gain sharply. It's closing in on that 97.5 mark as we speak in early trade today, and the 10-year US Treasury yields, which fell sharply towards that 1.7%, have gained a bit. They're at around 1.75% in early trade today. Well, bond yields are continuing to fall on the larger anticipation that the Fed rate hike will continue to be delayed. Crypto, of course, saw a strong jump, very unlike what we have seen over the last few days. It's above the 44,000 US dollar mark as we speak. That's a roundup of how markets are faring in early trade today.